Trade unions, as a rule, do not get into political dogfights until such time that they believe that if their industrial demands are not being met and the objective conditions exist for them to move to a political level and to succeed, then they will do so. But if you understand the nature of industrial unrest, it is to do principally with bread and butter issues. And that is what GAU, by right, has to do. It has to represent its workers, just as it did the other day. But we, at the political level, we have a political vision. We have a broader vision. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with us giving that broader vision to the country, how we see the sugar industry.
Sir, if I can take you away from that and let's go to the parliament.
But it's an exciting area. I'm sure you would agree.
I agree.
Well, I know you don't want Dennis to dominate.
No. It's exciting. We had a good gap. We know what we're talking about, and we can talk about it some more. But Attorney General Anil Nandalal went back to Parliament with some motions that you had put into the House and which the opposition party had voted against. Of interest is that when the debate was on, there were some questions asked about the bill, and you, rather than the AG, had to answer those questions. And there was no objection. What went through your mind?
What went through my mind?
When you realized, well, it's still you defending your own bill that the vice didn't want you to talk about.
I don't follow what I said.
Sorry. The AG tendered.
Yes, 3 bills
Right.
that I previously attended in
Correct.
Parliament, correct?
There were questions on those bills.
At that time when I presented
No,
them?
this time here.
No, the bills have been laid for the first reading. They are to be debated in second reading that is coming up. They've been laid again for the first reading this time. The second reading is coming up Thursday.
But you would have to answer the questions pertaining to these bills.
No, the Attorney General, the bill has been laid in his names. He will initiate, so to speak, the introduction of the bills and give a general outline what they're about, etc., etc. And if needs be, I will support him.
You will have, more than likely, you will have to be speaking on the bills.
It is quite possible.
Do you see any problems there?
No, because the bills are not in my name. The bills are not in my name. The opposition said they're not going to support any bills in my name. They're not opposed to me speaking. I will speak, but the bills are in the Attorney General's name. And that is the question that you should ask. Will they support the bill in the Attorney General's name, having regard to the fact that they said they're not going to support it in my name? In fact, some of them had even asked, why didn't you bring this bill in somebody else's name? They had asked that, but you know, you better think about it a little more, Adam, and try to figure out, you know, what it really means. Yes?
Yes, Minister. You did touch a little on what you said about the split in rank at the last session of the National Assembly.
The what?
Split in rank. You touched a little
Oh.
on what you said about the split in rank.
Correct.
But on a more personal note, what is the PPPC's view as to the developments surrounding Ms. Lawrence's party?
What is the PP's view?
Surrounding the developments of Ms. Lawrence's actions on several issues.
That is open to speculation. And I tried my best not to enter into the realm of speculation unless I'm involved in some kind of philosophical or academic discussion. That's a serious issue for the APNU. And from the tone of Mr. Granger's response to journalists on the question, I note that he also has taken it, he has taken it seriously. So let's wait and see how it will play out. I wouldn't want to, you know, enter into any speculation, you know, as to what it was all about, because I don't have any information, you know.
Members of the public are of the view that Ms. Lawrence's vote was balked by the PPP.
No,
Was
they're
what?
putting it badly. That she was offered some special considerations.
Well, I don't know. Would you be prepared to reveal those
No,
special
yes.
considerations?
I know, Chief.
Did the
I
PPP
hear you.
offer
No, but what is you saying so?
No, sir, no, I told him that's putting it badly. What the public is saying is that Ms. Lawrence was offered special considerations.
I'm not aware of anything like that. I'm not aware of anything like that as a leader of the PPP. I'm not aware of anything like that. And I can't speak for the government, but as far as I'm as a member of the cabinet, I don't think that that is true. I don't think that that is true. I think that's a red herring that people are trying to throw into the whole mystery surrounding Vala Lawrence's. But Ms. Lawrence has given a statement in the Starbuck News. She has spoken expansively in the Starbuck News as to why she took that position. And she also said some of the actions she's contemplated taking to correct the image that was created as a result of her action. That's Vala Lawrence speaking. I don't think that was a manufactured story in the Starbuck News.
Would it be politically advised to offer members of the opposition special consideration?
I don't know. I'm afraid I can't talk to that. But I don't know what you mean by PPP has nothing special to offer. You know what we got to offer? Work on the ground to win votes. If you want to come with us, to work with us to win votes on the ground, that's all we have to offer. I don't want to sound cynical, but you know, Mr. Barnum once said, I have nothing to offer but hard work. That's all we could offer in the PPP. Hard work. That's all we could offer. Huh? Yes.
Would you be inclined to support AFC's bill for the restoration of the Cushman Policy Commission?
That's a question?
Yes.
Would we what?
Would the PPP be inclined to support the AFC's bill on the restoration of Cushman subvention?
Usually these matters are discussed, you know, among ourselves and other cabinet members, and we will usually come to a common position. I'm not aware of any such discussion.
But the motion was up for, it was on the party.
No, but
last
remember the PPP is a ruling party, and the PPP, when it sits in Parliament, it sits with a combination of ministers, non-ministers, MPs, regional representatives, and so on. So we haven't had any recent consultations on what position we will take or not take on that particular matter, as far as I'm aware. But having regard to the position we took on the last occasion, well, that position still stands. Until there's such a change, well, you know, it will be reflected in what position we take in the Parliament. But the current position is as it was in the early days.
Final question from you. Does PPP somewhat tied for the project CGIA expansion and specialty hospital, being that the sum spent over the last few months or so weren't approved in the National Assembly? The opposition is not likely to approve for the funding for the project, and the specialty hospital only got that amount that they got at the last season by default. Does the PPP see a problem here?
No, we don't have any problem. We have a problem with the way the opposition behaves in Parliament, in the sense that it denudes the respective ministry of the finances to engage in these developmental projects. But as the Minister of Finance and the Attorney General has argued in Parliament last Thursday, they both had copies of the ruling of the Chief Justice acting in their hands to show that nothing is done illegally insofar as releasing contingencies, funds, or funds by some other legal means to support the funding of the airport. You know, they travel through the Caribbean. You know, this country, you know, I'm not saying it because I'm a minister of the government, but I believe this country really needs a modern airport. I believe it needs a modern airport. How are we going to get a modern airport? We can't fund it from public funds. We obviously have to negotiate a loan. Whether the way in which the loan is negotiated to the satisfaction of the opposition or not, well, I think that's what is being debated currently. But when you travel around the Caribbean, I saw in the newspapers recently where Antigua is putting up a modern airport. Well, the GDP in Antigua might be much higher. The GDP per capita in Antigua will be much higher than it is for Guyana, compared to Guyana. But you know, Guyana is still looked at as a very important component in the Caribbean. And I'm not saying we must do it for status. I'm not saying we must do developmental projects as status symbols. Guyana is still looked at with a lot of respect. You know, people still respect Guyanese as a whole for their ability to talk, to you know, introduce many different concepts in the region and so on. You know, I don't think we should worry too much about. Well, let me rephrase that. I think that while we are concerned about the way Guyanese are treated in the Caribbean, right, we should also acknowledge the fact that, as far as I am concerned, that Guyanese are still a highly respected people in the Caribbean. Still highly respected people in the Caribbean, and you know, country Guyana is a name that still commands a lot of respect around the world. We have to move on. We have to move on. I think the country really needs a modern airport. Yeah.
Any other question? If not, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Get over here.
Yeah, give me both. The People's Progressive Party noted with satisfaction the enormous strides made by President Donald Ramata's administration in terms of economic growth and development, despite a harsh global environment and a less than supportive domestic environment. The economy recorded growth rates of close to 5% at the time when other economies in the region were reeling under the impact of an economic downturn, which resulted from a global economic and financial crisis. What is even more laudable is the fact that the economy performed creditably despite a hostile parliamentary opposition, which had been doing and continues to do everything possible to frustrate and destabilize the government's development agenda by virtue of its one-seat majority. One indicator of a country's economic health is the buoyancy of the banking and business sectors, both of which have shown impressive growth and expansion. Foreign direct investments in the economy, as well as local investments, have increased significantly over the past years. And these are indicative of growing confidence in the economy. The rising tide of economic growth has, as it were, lifted all boats as reflected in growing prosperity among all strata of the Guyanese society. A growing number of Guyanese people are today the proud owners of their own homes, motor vehicles, and other consumer items. Public servants have benefited from salary increases on an annual basis, which are larger than the rate of inflation, resulting in a bigger and bigger basket of goods and services. We have to note that in the region, the Barbados government has announced that it will lay off 3,000 public servants. This is obviously a stark difference to the situation in Guyana. As a result of the growing economy, relief pensions have increased, subsidies for water and electricity to relief pensioners have also been granted to pensioners. Free school uniforms for school children, increases in public assistance. All of this is happening while the opposition continues in a mad rush to cut public spending. There has been a marked increase in the productive capacity of the economy, with the production of rice reaching record levels. The mining sector has also performed well, overtaking sugar as the largest foreign exchange earner to the economy. The party has taken note of the continuing failure of Daisuko to meet its production targets and calls on all stakeholders to redouble their efforts to turn the industry around. Sugar continues to be the largest employer, and any other further decline in sugar production will have disastrous effects on the livelihood and well-being of sugar workers and their families. The PPP commends the government, more particularly the Ministry of Finance, for its good stewardship of the economy and for ensuring that the fundamentals of the economy are maintained. Among these are macroeconomic stability, stable exchange rates, low inflation rates, strong foreign exchange reserves, and low interest rates, all of which are indicative of fiscal discipline and sound monetary policies on the part of the PPPC administration. The next statement I will read is as follows. A blend of events during last Thursday's sitting of Parliament further confirms that Guyana's political parliamentary opposition parties, PNC, APNU, and AFC, are determined to destroy our social and economic gains as a country. It appears as though the opposition will stop at nothing to sabotage national development projects and jeopardize the future of Guyanese. But even as the opposition display represented a pattern of misuse of its one-seat majority, the situation also highlighted poor leadership, disarray and disunity among the opposition as witnessed during the last sitting of Parliament during its deliberation on several matters of national importance. Leader of the PNC, APNU, and the parliamentary opposition, David Granger, cannot escape responsibility of failing to guide the opposition in a direction aimed at achieving national good in partnership with other stakeholders. During the sitting, Granger either pretended ignorance of the situation or was clueless of what guidance to offer his camp, which degenerated into futile masquerade. The upheaval was indeed as much as an indictment of splits within the ranks of the opposition over positions that conflict with national interests. The People's Progressive Party congratulates the Amerindian representatives who picketed the opposition outside Parliament, challenging a motion by AFC leader Kemred Ramnakan to cut by 300 million funds intended for Amerindian development. This picketing exercise was certainly not in vain, as it forced the opposition to abandon their position. However, the opposition remains a source of discomfort for Amerindians, especially with AFC Member of Parliament Urido Lo, who stated, among other things, that, quote, Amerindian children do not deserve transportation to take them to school, end of quote. This is especially disappointing considering Ms. Lo, who claims to be a representative of the Amerindian people in Parliament, and that her criticism received support from her colleague opposition MPs, none of whom objected or disagreed with her contention. So obvious was the disarray and disunity in the opposition camp in Parliament last Thursday that we found 8 new members of Parliament voting for a financial position for the specialty hospital, thus reflecting the conflicting positions past-held positions. There is growing dissatisfaction with the performance of the opposition, which is encouraging more and more people, such as the Amarin community, to demonstrate outside of Parliament to express their outrage. Granger has shown little or no leadership in Parliament since he has been elected as the opposition leader. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Now, we'll open the floor for questioning. Normal protocol.
Two persons out.
I'd like to ask a question about the performance of sugar. It attracted the largest investment ever of 3 years ago. And it was expected to do certain things. But production is going lower and lower and lower, despite efforts, despite proposals to improve the thing. Is the situation ever going to improve at Skeldon, where we are going to see the factory producing at the levels it was intended to?
Well, it would seem to me that the new board that is expected to be put in place in the not too distant future will be a contributing factor to the turnaround of the sugar industry. In addition to that, it is hoped that the trade union, the principal trade unions, which are GAU and NASI, will see the new board as a source of them giving more confidence to their role and place in the sugar industry, and that the board itself will recognize that some of the deficiencies which have contributed to the shortfalls in sugar production will be corrected. So I think that by and large, if all these factors come together, we will obviously, the cumulative effect of these new developments that we expect to take place within the sugar industry, where the patterns, of course, continue to be a major concern, and it is expected that the board that is vested with the responsibility to look at all these factors will do so, and will eventually contribute to the turnaround of the sugar industry.
Quick follow-up. And we keep saying that sugar is the largest employer, but the records show that the number of cane harvesters slipped from 14,000 a couple of years ago to just under 7,000 now and declining. Is sugar still really the largest employer?
In the productive sector, I think it's still the largest employer in the productive sector. In the agricultural sector, to make it even more definitive, I don't have actually the statistics with me right now to validate what you say. That could, of course, be validated to determine whether sugar continues to be the largest employer in the productive sector, the agricultural sector, or agriculture as a whole. Maybe at our next press conference we'll be in a position to answer that truthfully.
Mr. O'Neill, do you believe that given the track record of the ISICO even before the last election, that you'll be able to, that the company will be able to register turnaround and so convince its original support base that you're in fact making successes?
I have always argued that sugar is not merely an industry, it's a way of life in our country. And it's difficult actually to separate sugar from so many aspects of Guyanese life, culture, and so forth. So that when you look at the rest of the Caribbean's performance in respect of sugar and the development and expansion of the sugar industry, Guyana is the only country that has actually worked very hard to do so, because we believe that strategically Guyana will eventually end up to be continue to end up being the largest exporter of sugar, not only to the Caribbean, but even to the European Union. The industries in other Caribbean countries are struggling. We also struggling too. But the point in our context is that the industry has greater prospects for not only having it being turned around, but surviving in the long term. Surviving in the long term. Now, if you're talking about the political impact of that on the political fortunes of the People's Progressive Party, development brings its own challenges. Adam just spoke about the possible reduction in the number of employees in sugar. I remember years ago when I visited a number of Scandinavian countries who are, they have the shipping industry. It's quite large in Sweden, Norway, and those countries, and I spoke to many of the trade union leaders there. They were also saying to me at that time that with the introduction of containerization in the shipping industry, the amount of waterfront workers has reduced significantly in the Scandinavian countries. This is also the case in many countries where containers are now arriving at these ports and replacing stevedores. The stevedores, as you would recall, was quite a large and strategic section of the labor force in Guyana. Critchlow, was a man who was the leader of the trade union of the stevedore trade of the stevedore component in the GLU. So I would say that, looking at it from a very realistic way, yes, there are challenges there will be challenges. There has to be challenges in the sugar industry. All of this was taken into consideration when we were negotiating the new arrangements with the European Union. The question is the removal of the subsidies, the removal of the preferential markets for sugar in Europe and so on. All these things have contributed, but to a large extent, to the difficulty of the sugar industry, not only in Guyana, but even in other sugar producing countries like Mauritius, Fiji, the Caribbean, in Africa, and so on. So the difficulties that we are facing here in Guyana is not peculiar to us only. It is a common feature among all ACP countries. Now, this doesn't mean to say that we should sit on our laurels and allow this industry to decline. The People's Progressive Party was not elected to govern over the demise over the sugar industry. If you search our manifesto, you will never find that. Therefore, it behoves us to make every effort, even to the extent of bringing in exports from other countries, to assist us in turning it in the ground, because it is too valuable a sector, it is too strategic a sector, and it's too vital in terms of the economy to have it falter and stumble and eventually face a crisis of irreparable damage.
Minister Roy, basically what we're saying there has been said repeatedly for several years now, and the production continues to decline. My question then to you is, why do you believe that your political support base is really convinced by your arguments, and therefore they're not dwindling away from the PPP?
To argue that the PPP support base is only in the sugar
Not
industry.
only.
All right, all right.
A major segment.
I'm answering your question. You're qualifying what you said now. But I'm saying to argue or to posit then that the principal support base, the PPP, resides only in the sugar industry, I think is a miscalculated notion. It is indeed true that a large and significant portion of the PPP support base rests with the sugar industry. But we have always made the point that apart from the sugar industry, the other sectors, the workers in other sectors which support the People's Progressive Party. And we've always made the point that even if all the traditional supporters of the PPP were to vote for the PPP, we cannot win at a free and fair election. We must be able to win and attract voters from other sectors. If you go to the Western Trial and you read Epilogue 3, you will see where Dr. Jagger made a very important statement where he said that even if all the East Indians in Guyana were to vote for the PPP, we still need the support of other sectors of the electorate to be able to win votes, to win the executive and the parliament. So I don't think we can say convincingly that if the amount of workers in the sugar industry is to dwindle and to migrate to other sectors, it follows ipso facto that those people will stop supporting the PPP. We have many families who've left the sugar industry and gone into carpentry, gone into construction, gone into business, but they haven't changed their political convictions. So they may not be in the sugar industry, but they've gone to another sector to work or to live, but they continue to be PPP supporters.
But do you believe that you're convinced by your arguments for several years now that the industry will turn around and these are the problems that are facing the industry? Do you believe that you're convincing them?
You know, I have been minister, you will probably know, and you not probably, you do know that I was Minister of Foreign Trade. And I was at one time CARICOM spokesperson for sugar with the EU and at the World Trade Organization. For me, that was not just a fleeting romance with the sugar industry. The institutional memory that I have, having regard to my association with the sugar industry, tells me as an individual, not necessarily only as a government functionary, tells me as an individual. And given my exchanges with other exports from other countries in the world who produce sugar, that there is great potential still for Guyana sugar industry. I'm convinced about that. But I agree with you that, you know, this can't be mere platitudes and words. We have to work. We have to work, and we have to work hard, make sure we have the necessary technical expertise, make sure we have the trade unions on our side, make sure that the workers are educated to understand we're living in a different era now, with globalization and all these things impacting on economies. And anytime the sugar industry goes down, the workers and the country will suffer. And that's the kind of global picture we have to put to the workers in the sugar industry.
I was traditionally associated with the PP in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe Gao is now sabotaging government's efforts to revive the industry?
Out of the question. Out of the question.
So,
Why? I mean,
Because
you
Mr. Komal Chan and other leaders who are associated with sugar industry are members of the executive committee and the central committee. I have absolute confidence in my colleagues. I wouldn't second guess my colleagues. If I don't believe my comrades, nor was the general secretary of the PPP, well, who do I believe? These are comrades that report often to the party how the sugar industry performing, what are the challenges that confront the sugar industry, and what needs to be done at the highest political level. I have to believe my comrades because they also, like us, and like the PPP as a whole, has a vested interest in turning this industry around. So this whole question about Gao sabotaging the government, out of the question.
But your party and your government consistently appeal to Gao to minimize any industrial action. But yes, still there is industrial action. There is call for more and more emoluments and so on. And there are strikes.
Nothing is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. The People's Progressive Party is a political party. We have a vision politically for Guyana and the sugar industry. We have a broader outlook of these matters. The trade unions focus on bread and butter issues. The unions, labor, focuses on bread and butter issues. Sometimes when the industrial strike develops into political strike. And you would have seen that happen in Guyana. That's when the industry decides to move from bread and butter issues to wider political considerations. This is not the case in the situation in which we are living and working. Labor concerns itself with bread and butter issues for the workers. And that is how it has always been historically and up to today.